evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of High Top Sports. We're in the studio with my main man, Conner Clarke. Again, one of my favorite guests. I tweeted that earlier. He's been on since the beginning. He's an OG, as we like to say. He always comes on and gives us a pleasure. The guy knows what he's talking about. He's always ready to rock and roll, so we always appreciate him. Conner Clarke, welcome to the show, man. How are you?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. I appreciate all the kind words. You're pumping me up a little bit too much, man. I don't know if I deserve all of that introduction, but I really appreciate it.
Look, I'm a big fan, man. You're always humble and you always keep it 100. So I always appreciate it. I appreciate the retweet of me humping a spaceship earlier as well too. You wake up, you're viral on Twitter for humping a spaceship. I think it could be worse. There's worse things out there. So I'll take it as a W on that one. It was a good time. DJ retweeted it, so I was like, you know what? It is what it is. Sometimes you get fired up, your emotions get going, and you kind of just roll with it. So it was a good day to be a Gator yesterday. That was a good time.
Most certainly was, man. As I tweeted out, arguably the most important or the biggest commitment in Billy Napier's short tenure at Florida. So, anytime you can land a five-star quarterback, it's big time. But when you can go into the state of Texas and get them too, that's on another level. So, really well done by Billy Napier and his staff on that recruitment. Yes,
and I think, you're going to have your haters, and everyone's like, why are we going to get so excited? It's 2024, and I hear you, but it's 2024. It isn't as far as people are thinking that it is. I mean, I think back to last January and February, and we had you on kind of shortly that first time, right around that time when we started talking about the 2023 class. That's when it started, right? Hey, what's Billy doing? How's it going? What's the noise? It was all fresh, right? And now we're kind of going through that same cycle again. So it's not as soon as people are really realizing, because how do you get a class started? We were kind of in the back seat on 2023. Remember, we were trying to catch up last year, and we're still playing catch up. And look what he's done on a catch up season. Now he's going to have a full season. So it's not starting early. It's starting right on time, actually, and you've got the most important piece to that puzzle to getting that class rolling. So that's what we want to talk about today. The 2024 class, kind of some insight on that. But I think the 2023 class, I had a feeling that landing DJ right now would allow for 2023 to evolve more than what it may have without DJ. Is that true, or am I over-speculating on that?
No, yeah. I mean, anytime you land a kid that good, that well-known across the entire country, you're going to have effects not just in the 24 class, but in your 23 class. You could have effects in the 25 class when it comes time for those kids to start getting recruited. Sure. Anytime you land an elite signal caller and somebody that has the gravity to him that DJ Lagway does, it's going to help out tremendously. And it doesn't hurt that you had your first five-star quarterback commit in, I think I wrote in my article, it was about 11 years since Florida's landed a five-star quarterback.
Really?
And he does it on national television on ESPN2 for the entire country to see. So that's really gonna turn some heads and steer some eyes towards the University of Florida.
Who was the last one? I didn't see that article. Who was the last quarterback?
Jeff Driscoll.
Okay, it was Driscoll. Okay, I saw a few tweets
it was Jeff Driscoll in 2011. Yep.
Okay, wow. Man, that's crazy. That doesn't seem that long ago, but it was. So, to that point, too, about being on ESPN, the last big name that I can think of that was on ESPN was Copeland, who, when he committed, now there could have been more, but that reminded me of thinking about an ESPN commit. They go on there, he commits to Florida over Bama, and his mom walks off stage. Like, that was kind of the last reigning big commit on ESPN. And there could have been one, but to me, I feel like that's been...
So, yeah, Kamari Wilson was on ESPN last year.
Okay, Kamari was. Okay.
So that would definitely be the most recent, but as far as... there wasn't really a lot of drama on Kamari, so you kind of forget about it a little bit. The Copeland is very easy to remember due to mom storming offset to much to the dismay of many people around her, and to the approval of a lot of Alabama fans.
Yeah. And so we go back to Kamara. That was the kind of the IMG curse breaker, right? And that was on ESPN. And now this is being claimed as the Mullen curse breaker because we've been able to land DJ Lagway. So both curse breakers on ESPN. Things seem to be moving in the right direction. So now we've had a full season. We've talked to you at the beginning, early on, pre-Billy, right? Not pre-Billy, but I would say, BB before Billy. We've talked to you during Billy, right? We talked to you at the Utah game live. And now here we are at the end of the season, in the beginning of the second cycle of his recruiting. What's your thoughts? What's your process on him? How do you feel? Are you even more dialed in? Are you more doubled down? I know how I feel about it, but I want to get your take on that, because you see me. Yeah, it's all.
I'm pretty sure I know which end of the spectrum you're on, but
all right, I'm glad it's clear.
It's pretty clear, but yeah. So you look at it, and to kind of go back to the Mullen curse breaker comment. Billy Napier's been at Florida for, what is it? It's December now, so just over a year. He got there end of November last year. He's now already landed 2 quarterbacks that are higher rated than anybody Mullen landed his entire time at Florida. Mm-hmm. In Jaden Rashada and DJ Lagway. Sure. So the whole QB guru quotation that you have for Dan Mullen, I think we all kind of knew he was a little lazy on the trail. Billy Napier is not that. And he's not going to let his staff be that. So I said all year long that I thought if Florida was able to get to a bowl game and finish in the top 10 to 12 range in recruiting, then you have a very successful year. Obviously, I thought my record prediction for the year was 7-5, and having them finish in the top 10. So a little bit off that on the record, but I think they're going to be a little bit better than that on the recruiting trail. So it depends on what. Yeah, it depends on what site you look at. Generally, for consensus stuff, I'll typically look at 247. 247's composite ranking just dropped Florida down to number 11, but they've got a big official visit weekend coming up that could see it yield a couple commits. So we'll see how that goes, but I think they end up somewhere in the top 8. If things go really well, you could see them push for top 6. So I mean, they're in a great spot. I like what I'm seeing from Billy Napier and his staff. They bust their ass on the recruiting trail. They've done a very good job of, while maybe the on-field product isn't there right now, they're doing a great job of selling the vision of what they want this program to be. That's how you land guys like Kelby Collins. That's how you land guys like Jaden Rashada. So I think they've done a great job. I'm excited to see where they go continue to the 2024 class. Like you said, you've got a guy like DJ Lagway, one of the top quarterbacks in the country, in early. He's now has a full calendar year to recruit for you, because he'll be recruiting. Yeah, and he's already been recruiting. Within the last 24 hours, he's hit up Samson Okunlola. He's hit up a number of 2024 wide receivers. He's hit up Desmond Ricks. He's the guys that are super vocal
on the fence. That I'm assuming that's why he's hitting those guys up like he is.
Yeah, exactly. And he's been super vocal already. So you've got 2 blue chip quarterbacks, and not just blue chips, but you've got 2 elite level quarterbacks now recruiting for the logo. And I think things are going in the right direction for Billy. Now, a lot of that's going to kind of hang on how the season goes next year, because after a year or two, you can't really sell the dream of, hey, this is what we want to do. Sure. You have to actually show the product on the field. But right now, they're doing everything right as far as I'm concerned, I should say.
I go back to Billy's quote in the beginning of the season last year. Basically, a dream without action is just a dream. So we need action. So right now, he's selling the dream heavy. A 6-6 season, we all felt it felt a little deflated, right? I think part of it too. I mean, I'll take blame for it. We hyped it up a lot. The excitement for Anthony Richardson and what could have been and what we were hoping to see. And I look, and this isn't making excuses. I think the schedule was much harder than people were giving credit for. Tennessee was at an all-time high. Kentucky was at a high when we played them. FSU is they're playing well. They're playing great football. The only loss, in my opinion, that was a really poor loss was Vandy. And at the time, the way it came through, was that really that big of a deal? No, but it's not a good look, right? I mean, you're kind of in a weird, Billy's at that point starting to take over. I think guys feel it. They see the writing on the wall, and we saw it how quickly these guys hit the portal as soon as the Florida State game ended. That was happening weeks ago, because Billy has now starting to say, like, okay, guys, I tried you. We worked it. You're not working in my system. I'm going to start moving on. So I think that had a lot to do with it. I'm not making excuses. I'm just, it's just facts. It's how this football game works. So, but yes, I think that's what everyone's concerned about too. Hey, is DJ Lagway going to decommit? You're always going to have that in the back of your mind. But it feels to me that this guy's bought in. I feel like he really took his time on where he was going to go. it feels like it was a very healthy and thorough. If he could sign on Saturday, I feel like he would. That's how it feels. Now, if something crazy happens and Billy gets canned, then yeah, I could see that happening. But if things stay the course, I don't see this going anywhere. I think the reason why he committed as soon as he did, because he believes in building a class. He believes in that dream, and he understands if he flips late, it's not gonna be the same thing. That's that people don't understand that. Like, look, it takes time. You have to have that process. So I haven't seen that he was recruiting 2024 wide receivers. So I heard him talk about it. I just haven't seen it yet. Is he tweeting them on Twitter? Is that where that's at?
So it might not be out there publicly, but I do know a couple names of guys that he has already. Hey man, come play at Florida with me. And it's elite level players, man. So I'm sure it'll grace the Twitter streets here soon. But he's working hard. It's not one of those, hey, I'm committed now so I can relax. He's committed, and he is fully committed to trying to bring the number one class to the University of Florida for 2024.
That's exciting. I love hearing that. And so you mentioned your projection was we make a bowl game, which we did. You were expecting 7-5, and then a top 10 class, but you're thinking we could finish 8 or 6. So you don't think we crack the top 5? Because I play around with the calculator. I play the roulette game of like what could be. Right, I enjoy that. I'm popping names in there. We're getting everybody. Hold on, let me say. And I find it's in the top 1, right? But obviously that's not realistic. So let's kind of go into as much as you possibly can. I know I don't like to kind of blow anybody's secret out of these kids where they're going to commit. That's not what we're here to do. But what's your reasoning for that on that top 8, top 6 class?
Yeah, so you've got 22 kids committed already. The class numbers for them, I think they've always kind of wanted to take around 30 to 35. That's if everything goes perfectly correct. Obviously, that's never going to happen. So you're looking at a class that I believe will finish probably in the upper 20s as far as number of prospects. And you've still got some really good prospects out there that are seriously considering Florida. Obviously, we talked about Samson Okunlola, who's going to be on an official visit to Florida this weekend. Still seriously considering the Gators. He actually commits
his last
on the
official
15th.
Visit, right?
Yep, he commits on
now.
the 15th. Florida gets the last official visit.
Okay.
Then you've got a guy like Desmond Ricks who's seriously considering Florida. I think it's LSU until it's not for him, but Florida is making things interesting. Okay. You've got Caden Jones who's officially visiting this weekend, Mark Fletcher who's officially visiting this weekend, Jordan Hall who just officially visited last weekend, and then you've also got John Walker who could flip from UCF who's officially visiting this weekend. So you're talking about every one of those players, I think aside from Caden Jones, is a 4-star or higher. So that's 6 names, I think, is what I threw out there, that are legitimate options for the University of Florida. And if they could land even half of those guys, I think you see them jump into the top 10 and closer to the top 8. Now, if things go really well, you could see them push for 5, but it would take a lot to get them into the top 5.
So, yeah, I forgot that we dropped from 7 to 11. So that's kind of, I think, where I'm, because, again, I was projecting a top 5 class, but they did knock us down a little bit. So one name you didn't mention that I've been high on this entire time, this is who is just a grown man amongst boys, is Russaw and the James Smith combo. Those are the guys. And look, it feels like it's almost like a pipe dream, and I understand that, but it feels like Florida is just heavy on Russaw. Not as much as Smith. And to me, it's been they're a package deal this whole time, and I don't know if that's hurting or helping that we're just kind of going after Russaw. I know that they're going after both, but it feels like Russaw, anytime there's an article or anything that's dropped, it's Russaw's thoughts on Florida. Is there anything there? Do you feel like there is a possibility, or it's not as high as a Desmond Ricks and a Sampson, but he's close?
Yeah, so Russaw is somebody that is seriously considering Florida. He's made a couple visits to the University of Florida, and they really like that kid. Okay. If we're talking James Smith, I don't think Florida gets him. I think that's kind of a long shot. I think that's a Georgia or Alabama recruitment. Now, everybody likes to say package deal, and how often do package deals actually work out?
I've been burned so many times.
So you're talking about a kid in Russaw who really likes Alabama, a kid who really likes Auburn, a kid who really likes Florida. I don't see Georgia in that mix, and I think Georgia is one of the top contenders for James Smith. So do I think Russaw could go elsewhere and not play with James Smith at the next level? Absolutely. and I think Florida's doing a really good job recruiting him right now. But there's still a long way to go in that recruitment. They've already used their official visit during the season. So I think they would have to get him on campus again in an unofficial capacity to be a real legitimate contender.
Okay. And so what's the official signing date for December? Are we expecting that those guys to sign, or are they a late signee, or have they mentioned that at all, those two?
I've not spoken with either of them about that. I do
Okay.
think they're going to end up signing early.
Okay.
The early signing period starts on December 21st. Or not, sorry, not. Yeah, December 21st.
Okay.
So
It
we're
goes-
still a couple weeks away. The only downside is because Florida's bowl game is on December 17th, they lose that last official visit weekend before early signing day.
Okay. Yeah, the whole bowl game situation just seems like it's kind of just screwing us. I mean, we've got less days to practice, and now it's coming into official visit weekend. So, all interesting stuff. Again, Desmond Ricks, it feels like it's been LSU the entire time, but lately here he was on the DJ Lagway's post. He was commenting on the post, which was fun to see. And obviously, Lagway has been tweeting at him. Same thing with Sampson. That one seems exciting to me. It seems that we're making a late push for that. And why wouldn't a five-star offensive tackle would not want to come play for a team, a guy like Rashada and DJ Lagway? So it's good to see. Now, kind of going into what's happening right now, Jack Miller has officially been announced as the starter. Now, as for portal news, and I just saw too, Sanders, Oklahoma State quarterback, looks like we're a heavy favorite for him. We're targeting him a little bit, yes and no. See, I wanted to get I'm not sold on it. Is the Hartman situation, is that out of it? Are we a no bueno on that one?
So it's kind of hard to speculate on kids in the portal that are not in the portal. So obviously there's been Drake May smoke out there. There's Sam Hartman smoke out there. There's other names that are like, hey, man, this kid might be hitting the portal. Well, that's a big might.
Sure.
So you can't go recruit a kid that's not able to be recruited. So, I mean, the Spencer Sanders situation, and I will tell you this, Florida is kicking the tires on just about every quarterback that jumps into the portal. Just to kind of see, like, hey, are these guys interested? Hey, where do we think he fits in our system? Just to kind of get the initial feelers out there.
Okay.
But when you talk about somebody that they really, really want, I don't think that person has hit the portal yet. So obviously you have your Spencer Sanders, you have your who else was linked to it? The kid from NC State.
Devin Leary.
Devin Leary. You have Keaton Slovis, who said that Florida had reached out to him. So yes, Florida is kicking the tires on these kids. They're reaching out, but I don't think there's anybody in the portal just yet at the quarterback position that Florida is like, I have to go get this kid.
Sure, I think what's different than like a typical high school reach out is like, look, they have to have the conversation because now these kids have a little more options. So it's more so like, hey, are you looking to come play for Florida? It's not like, hey, we're sending you an offer, let us know. It's like, hey, like it's more of a I feel, I don't know. I could be guessing.
Is there mutual interest here?
Yeah, it's a back and forth conversation versus in high school, the schools have a little more power, right? Of like, hey, we're coming after you, we want you, and they're heavily poaching these guys. Well, look, no, this relationship needs to work because you're leaving for a reason, right? You're not going into the portal just because like you're going to play for someone for a reason. So what is it? Can we help you with that? If this isn't a fit, let's not waste any time. Let's keep it moving. And I think that's what people don't understand. Like it's going to be. And now, what's the final day for portalees for those guys to sign? Is there a date on those guys? Do you know?
So the portal period was 45 days from whenever it started. So that was
5th?
what, December the 5th?
I believe it was
So
Monday. Was
I don't know
official
the
day.
exact date. I don't know the exact date, but it's 45 days from December 5th, which is the official portal period. So you've got everybody hitting the portal at that time. Now, a lot of these kids are going to want to get their schools situated before spring ball. So with that being said, you have to be enrolled at whatever institution that you want to go to by their ad drop deadline, which I think for Florida is like January the 8th.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about yesterday. So it's sooner than honestly 45 days.
So you have to make those decisions earlier. The 45-day grace period is there, but if you want to play spring ball and you want to practice with your new team, you have to get that decision made sooner.
Okay. Look, and I think so. I'm expecting things to heat up here in the next 2 weeks. It's going to be absolute mayhem. I would imagine these kids will want to have things figured out before the New Year's. I don't think you want to go into to January 2nd, not knowing when you're going to play. I mean, obviously some will play that, but we'll see. Real quick, guys, we got over 200 people in the chat. Welcome to the channel, guys. I appreciate it. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Show some love. Make sure you guys go follow Conner Clarke on Twitter. The guy's incredible. Always got a lot of information, so show him some love. And then he's got to go here soon because he's going to go hang out with David Soderquist on Getting Swamped. So, but I do want to ask you a few more things. So, with Jack Miller playing in the bowl game, I want to get your opinion and then the factuals. Kind of, let's separate the two. What's your thoughts on us going into next year without getting a portal quarterback, and we buy into Jack Miller possibly, or do you think Rashada could come in and be effective right away, or is it important for Billy to go and get a guy like a Sanders? Or, Hartman, obviously, I keep going back to him because it seems like that's just a hot name. Obviously, he hasn't been into the portal. I think the bowl game plays a factor into that. But what's your thoughts? Is it important for Billy to get somebody to help with that segue? It's a kind of a transition year in a sense. Or does he just buckle down, buy in on Jaden Rashada, utilize Jack Miller as he can, and keep him moving?
So Jack Miller's kind of an unknown right now. We haven't really seen anything from him when he was there in the spring. He played a little bit in the spring game, but you don't really get to see much during that.
Didn't look great, but that was early.
And then after that, when Anthony gets hurt, Jack Miller was hurt. So you saw Jalen Kitna get all the snaps. So he's kind of an unknown. I think a lot of that can kind of hinge on how he performs in the bowl game. But I think regardless, they're going to try and go get a portal quarterback. If Jack Miller beats out that portal quarterback, then he beats out that portal quarterback. But you have to go get some more depth. Right now you've got Jack Miller, you've got Max Brown, and Jaden Rashada coming in January.
Yeah, because Ingle's gone and Anders is gone. Those are both walk-ons.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So you have to go get another quarterback, if for nothing else, depth purposes. But I think you try and go get your starter for next year from the portal.
Okay. What's your thoughts on the Austin Reed kid from Western Kentucky out of St. Augustine? Do you know any about him? I'm high because it's a St. Augustine boy, so you get a little hometown love there. That could be a guy that, again, like that's more so if you don't get the big name, like a Hartman, or in my opinion, is Spencer Sanders. They're kind of the hot names right now where I feel they could come and make an impact right away. Or a Devin Leary. That, to me, would be the jackpot for Billy. Because, look, I talked about this last night as well. I think his rating for the transfer portal is going to be just as important as the recruiting rating than it has been in the past. I think it's what kind of answers to that, too. Do you agree with that, or do you think the recruiting trail is just as hot? Or, look, they're going to have the same level of importance as the years move on?
Yeah, so I think this year specifically, the transfer portal recruiting for Florida is going to be very important because you have to go flip a roster really fast.
Sure.
And you have to flip it with quality talent. You're going to have to go get starters. You're going to try and go get multi-year starters. So it's not just going to be grad transfers that are going to have to bridge that gap. While that may be the case at the quarterback position, along the defensive line, you need to go get a guy that's going to be able to play for a couple years. I think at linebacker, you're going to have to go get somebody that might be able to be a multi-year starter. Sure. So in this year specifically, you definitely have to go get an impressive and impactful transfer class. Now, in the future, if they're recruiting at the high school level the way that I think they can and will, you're not going to need to rely on the portal as much. Okay. Prime example of that would be if you're sitting there recruiting like Kirby Smart does at Georgia, sure. They can nitpick in the portal. They can go get a starter at one random position and then maybe go get a depth guy. They don't have to go hit the portal hard because they're continually restocking with 4- and 5-star talent. And I think if Florida recruits the way, like I said, that I think they can and I think they will, you won't need that as much in a couple of years.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, because again, if they're with the nitpicking, you're not going to be ranked high in the transfer portal, but you're still getting what you need. You're still being successful out of the portal, but on a grand scheme of things, it's like, whoa, they ranked 50th. Look, they didn't need to rank 10th because they ranked first in recruiting the last 4 years. So that makes sense. So it's I respect that, and I agree with that comment as well. Because look, USC and Lane Kiffin, they've ranked high in the portal, but the recruiting is just horrendous. So they don't have a choice but to do well in the portal. Which now that everybody seems to be that they're going to be heavy in the portal. We'll see how that does now, right? Like it's like, well, now you're gonna get caught up to. I think we'll see how it plays out this year. But there's a lot of hot destinations to go through, and a lot of guys that are working it very hard. So And one thing I keep commenting towards is Billy got a lot of flack because of how big his staff is. Now he's looking like a genius with how this year's unfolding. It looks like he was light years ahead of everybody else. So I love seeing that. So who do you think? I mean,
and one.
Go ahead.
Before. Sorry to cut you off, but with one of those guys that is one of those off-field guys with the Billy's Napier's Army, as they called it, Joe Hamilton, who was a huge part of DJ Lagway's recruitment. Joe Hamilton is originally from Texas and was the go-between and really the initial point of contact for Florida when they reached out to DJ in the first place. Obviously, Billy Napier, Ryan O'Hara really took over that recruitment a lot once he got on campus, once they identified him as their guy. But I cannot stress to you how important Joe Hamilton was in that recruitment and in many other recruitments. He's kind of one of those unsung heroes that nobody really hears about.
Sure.
He has been a shining star on Florida's staff as one of the off-field guys. I
love it. And I think, look, Billy kind of just keeps it moving. I mean, nobody really cares about the smack talk, and it's starting to pay dividends, right? I mean, you saw the excitement yesterday, and I think people don't understand, like, it's more than just landing the 5-star quarterback, right? It's something that you've been watching for a year unfold. You've been working up to this moment, and you've been believing in it. You've been seeing the process. You've been trusting it. And when you see it come to fruition, that's where all that excitement came through. It's like, it's finally happening. We've been saying it, and it's here. And that's when you hump spaceships. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing. So we kind of talked about, I don't know if you gave me like an exact answer, but who's your favorite? If you could pick, who would be the guy that you would want out of the portal for quarterback for this year, for that transition year?
The guy that I want is not in the portal yet, but so I won't name any names.
Okay.
But
so is that you hinting that you know something that we don't know?
No, of course not. I would never do that.
Oh,
okay. But no, for the people that are in the portal right now, that I think would fit Billy's system well, I think for sheer numbers, I think you have to kind of kick the tires on an Austin Reed. Okay. But I think Devin Leary is somebody that can be a successful quarterback for Billy Napier. I think those two right now, for who's in the portal, would be my top two guys at this moment.
So no way on DJ from Clemson, right?
That's a hard pass for me on DJ from Clemson. I don't think he brings anything different than Anthony Richardson did. Slightly lesser athlete, though he is willing to run more than it seemed like Anthony was this year.
Sure. Yeah, it just seems like we're not making any progress with that, and it's more of like it's a name that should be tarnished more than it is. And not to knock on the kid. I'm not here to roast anybody's, any kid's career.
Well, I mean, he's the former number 2 player in the country, so people are gonna say, hey, this is a former 5-star, maybe we can go get him, and a change of scenery will really help him.
Yeah.
But he was given every opportunity to succeed at Clemson. To be honest with you, they waited too long to pull him for Cade Klubnik over there. So I firmly believe that if Cade starts the whole season, that Clemson's a 12-0 team and they're in the college football playoff. But they decided to ride. Yeah, they decided to ride with DJ. And that's one thing that Dabo's always been very, very adamant about, his relationships, and he's not going to give up on a kid just because they have a bad game. But you've got to walk that fine line of when to be the good guy and then when to be the national championship coach.
And look, I mean, this is kind of a knack on the ACC, but he has that, that royalty to be able to buy into a guy when you play in a conference like the ACC, because it's a little bit easier, so you can kind of get away with it. But the ACC, and to their credit, was much better this year with NC State, Wake Forest. Florida State was much better. Syracuse obviously had a little bit of a run. But I talked to my buddy Tim. He's a Clemson fan on Tuesday, and we had that exact conversation. Like, look, he bought in way too long. And look, I think that almost hurt. We said it hurt DJ's reputation, because you had a guy who's Dabo Swinney, who has great success with quarterbacks, that doubled down on you, and you still couldn't get it done. And so it almost would have been better off for DJ if he would have just pulled the plug sooner, because it was like, oh, well, Dabo didn't ride it long enough. He still has some gas left in the tank. I would be surprised if he lands, honestly. I mean, he'll land in a Power 5 conference, but I would be surprised if he lands in a big thread being the guy. I could be wrong. Somebody might take a chance on him, but I'll be shocked for sure. So who? Obviously, signing day is coming up early. What's your feeling? I mean, these guys, the guys that are already committed thus far are very confident and they're very vocal. There's a few guys that aren't that vocal, but that's just kind of personalities and that kind of how that goes. But a lot of them right now are pegged to sign early. Is that the same noise that you're hearing around campus that everyone feels to be signing on early signing day? And is there any guys that we could be looking to sign later on or is flipping for that later signing day that we may not hear about yet, but it's kind of like hey, like we're here, but we're also looking at that February date too?
Yeah, so the vast majority of your class is going to sign on early signing day. I think the only one that I'm aware of that's not is Tyree Patterson.
Okay.
I don't think he's
the 3-star offensive lineman
or wide receiver.
Wide receiver, sorry.
Yeah, but he said he's making his final decision on December 25th. I know Florida, he's been committed for quite a while. He was one of Billy Napier's first commitments. I think he actually might have been his first commitment for the 2022 class. Or 2023, I'm sorry.
Yep.
But he is really the only one that I know of that is not signing early. But I think that's a possibility that he ends up flipping to UCF because they're really prioritizing him a lot, and he's taking an official visit there. Other than that, I think the biggest news out of this recruiting class is that while, yes, I think 21 of your 22 commits are signing early, I think 16 of them are enrolling early. Wow. So you're talking about a monster class of kids that are coming in January to be able to go through spring ball, go through the weight program, and that's huge. As far as prospects that I think you might kind of double down on as things progress, there is one prospect in particular that I believe has already said he's not signing early, and that's Vincent Carroll Jackson. He's an offensive lineman, defensive lineman from the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania area. Florida offered him as an offensive tackle. He is likely going to officially visit Florida in the month of January, and that's somebody that I think his recruitment's blown up in the last 2 or 3 weeks. He's got offers from Pitt, Georgia, Florida.
Really?
I think South Carolina. He's not ranked. Yeah, so he's not ranked as a composite player. I think 247 has him ranked as an 87 3-star. So a decently ranked 3-star, but his offer list has really exploded the last couple weeks where he's landed. But obviously the two biggest being Florida and Georgia. And that's somebody I think we should
Georgia's
probably
look at him.
keep an eye
that's a
on.
compliment. So that's
Georgia's looking at him as a defensive lineman. Florida offered him as an offensive lineman. So we'll see how that goes. I have had the chance to talk to the kid a little bit. He's very interested in the new programs that are extending offers to him. He's only been playing football for 1 year, so a lot of untapped potential there. But somebody that I think you could kind of keep an eye on for the latter signing day in the month of February.
Okay, that's some cool news. That's exciting to keep that train rolling. And again, I think it's important what you just mentioned too, the early enrollees. Somebody that I think of, Kamari Wilson, he enrolled early last year, and I think that it benefited him greatly into this year, being able to.
Yeah, he Devin Moore and Chris McClellan were the early enrollees last year, and every one of them got significant playing time this year. Devin Moore, I think, probably would have been the one that got the most had he not gotten hurt. Yeah,
and Chris McClellan, he definitely it started to show out there towards the end of the season. So I couldn't agree. Did Jack Fiburn, did he enroll early? Because I know he went to Bulls, and those guys.
He did not.
He did not. Okay,
no, he did not enroll early.
I didn't think he did. I mean, the only thing I saw from him would be on special teams, just absolutely just killing kids for no reason. Like, it was just like the kids like, bro, what leave me alone. I'm excited to see what he can do. I really am for Jack Fiburn. So one last thing, and we'll let you go again. Before we do that, so go ahead and plug your Roll Up Varsity, your podcast, as well as your personal Twitter too, because I know you got a lot going on. So we appreciate you, and I want to make sure to show you guys some love.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate it. We've kind of taken a break a little bit from the Roll Up Varsity podcast. We're trying to expand and kind of branch out and do a little bit more than just a podcast. So we're working on that right now and in the planning stages and working on getting that stuff done.
Cool.
But our Twitter handle is at rollup_varsity. And then obviously my Twitter is just at Conner Clarke. And I write for SI All Gators with Zach Goodall, Brandon Carroll. and the team over there. A wonderful group of guys that I love working with, and just really excited for early signing day coming up. And then we've got the Under Armour All-American game where Florida has 10 commits that'll be playing in that game. That's the most since I think Will Muschamp was a coach at Florida. Wow. For Florida at that game. And it could be more after early signing day. We'll see.
Okay.
But I will be out covering that as well. So when that rolls around, be sure to follow me on Twitter. I'll be posting videos, pictures, all that good stuff. But yeah, thank you again for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, dude. It's a pleasure. I literally don't want to bug you because I just enjoy having you on. You got a slew of knowledge and you're a blast to talk to. Last thing, who's your favorite guy that you're excited for the 2023 class? I know you talked to a few of them. Not here to point any favorites or anything or put anybody into a corner, but I know we've all got our guy that we're just really pumped that you kind of build a personal relationship for. And you're like, I really want to see this guy succeed. Like Lorenzo is my guy last year. Obviously, it didn't work out in my favor. But he had some success. I'm excited to see what he's able to do, where he goes. But who is it for you for this class?
It's hard to choose just one.
Okay.
Because I'm really high on a lot of kids in this class. But if I had to choose one that I'm super excited to get to Florida, I would have to say Eugene Wilson.
Okay.
The human highlight stick, man. Just a phenomenal freaking football player. I still don't know how he's not a composite top 50 player and borderline 5-star. What he's been able to do, especially this year with missing half the season and the numbers he put up. I put a tweet out.
You did. I saw it.
I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago where he only played in 5 games and had like 800 all-purpose yards, like 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 2 of them returned for pick sixes. So just an unbelievable football player. I think he's probably the one on offense. I'm going to cheat here and go offense, defense. So please don't kick me off for that.
Respect it. Yeah. No, hey. This isn't Burger King, okay? You can't have it your way, Conner. Relax.
but I think Eugene Wilson's my offensive guy, and then defensively, I have to go with Kelby Collins.
I was about to say Kelby Collins.
As a position of need, he is an absolute stud. And he's somebody that I think will get the opportunity to play early at Florida. So
awesome. No, I love it. Yeah, didn't you? I could be wrong here, but with the Eugene Wilson, didn't you have a ranking as well? And he ranked like in the top 10 or no? Was that not the case? I want to say you put him up against like other kids that played a full season, and he only played half a season, and it was like,
oh yes, yeah,
okay,
yeah. So I can't remember. It was somewhere.
It was top 5, top 10.
I tweet a lot. But
you're busy.
In comparison to guys like Hakeem Williams and other guys that are ranked higher than he is,
yes,
his numbers were just astronomically better than most of them
with less games.
And he missed probably 3. I think he missed 4 games compared to everybody else, or maybe even 5, because he was out for quite a while, but. He when he came back, I think he had like a 3 touchdown game the game he came back. So it was really fun to watch his highlights. If you guys don't watch Huddle highlights, please go watch his. You will not be bored. You'll not even a person that doesn't really watch highlights like that will have fun watching.
Maybe we'll do a highlight reveal of the kids coming in. That could be a good video idea, Clarke. You don't have to be there.
I love watching highlights. I love watching highlights. So Zach at our website goes, "Hey man, you want to work on the scouting report for these kids?" I was like, "Absolutely, I'd love to do it." It's a lot of fun to do that, man.
I love it. Well, Conner, dude, pleasure as always, man. I really appreciate you hopping on as always, and always be ready to rock and roll and making it work. Get some rest, get some water. He's going to be on the Getting Swamp podcast with David Soderquist. He posts this stuff a little bit later, so they don't go live. Are you going live with him? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I think he said we might be.
Good shit.
I'm not 100% sure. So.
Well, guys, go check out Getting Swamped. I'm sure Soder has way better questions than me. He's way more prepared usually than I am. We just hump spaceships here and have a good time. So, boys and girls,
as you're having a good time doing it.
That's the most important thing, boys. All right, make sure you guys like, subscribe, show some love. I appreciate you, Conner, again, as always. We'll see you guys later. Peace.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.